The night sky above Earth burned with alien fire as humanity made its last stand. Colossal warships cut through the clouds, casting shadows over ruined cities. In the rubble below, humanity, battered and outnumbered, stood defiant. On the eve of extinction, one resolve burned brighter than the enemy's plasma blasts. Humanity would not surrender. They came from the stars without warning. A vast galactic empire bent on subjugation. World after world had already fallen to their iron fist. To the Empire's commanders, Earth was just another primitive planet to crush beneath their boots. But they gravely underestimated the spirit of its people. When the invaders issued their ultimatum, submit or be annihilated, the nations of Earth, once divided, united as one. In an unprecedented alliance, humanity pooled its last resources and knowledge. In deep underground bunkers, generals and scientists huddled over battle maps, preparing for the impossible fight ahead. Among them stood General Amina Kapoor, the strategist leading Earth's defense. She knew humanity's weapons were woefully outmatched by the enemy. The Empire wielded planet-cracking plasma cannons and AI-guided war drones. Earth had only aging jets and repurposed rockets. And yet, humanity had one edge that machines and alien conquerors could not calculate: ingenuity born of desperation. The defenders prepared cunning traps, surprise maneuvers, and guerrilla tactics honed by centuries of human conflict. Throughout history, humans had prevailed against impossible odds, where wit and courage trumped raw power. Now those hard-learned lessons would guide them in this, humanity's greatest battle. In the final hours before the onslaught, Earth's leaders broadcast a single, defiant response to the Empire's demands. Across every frequency, a voice declared, "We are the children of Earth. We will never surrender." With that refusal, the die was cast. The Empire's armada descended, and the battle for Earth began. The first attack came as dawn broke over the Pacific. Sleek obsidian alien cruisers breached Earth's orbital defenses with contemptuous ease. In seconds, satellites and space stations were vaporized into dust. Fragments rained down through the atmosphere, streaking across the morning sky like fallen stars. The remnants of Earth's space fleet, a handful of retrofitted shuttles and hastily built orbital defense platforms, rose to meet the invaders. They were brave, but hopelessly outclassed. Alien energy beams cut through steel hulls like paper. One by one, human ships became fireballs, fizzling out against the blue sky and crashing into the oceans below. By midday, the enemy landed. Dropships like gleaming black daggers pierced the clouds, disgorging legions of armored troops and towering war machines onto human soil. City streets shook under the crush of alien walkers and hovering assault vehicles. The invaders marched with eerie precision, advanced weapons reducing entire blocks to ash in moments. From New York to Nairobi, the message was the same. The Empire was here to claim its prize. Yet the fight was far from one-sided. For every city that crumbled, a dozen ambushes bloomed in its ruins. Human soldiers and resistance fighters emerged from tunnels and foxholes, striking hard and then vanishing like smoke. From city streets to open plains, small bands of defenders lured enemy walkers into traps and collapsing buildings, while old jet fighters wove desperately through alien gunships. When ammo ran dry, pilots even rammed their planes into the invaders. At every turn, brave volunteers gave their lives to slow the alien advance. But courage alone could not turn the tide. With each passing hour, the lines of defense shrank. The invaders' losses, though real, were a drop in the ocean compared to their endless reinforcements. Alien forces pushed relentlessly inward, converging on the last human strongholds. Flames and smoke choked the skies. Entire nations were reduced to battlefields of rubble and craters. In an underground command bunker carved into the Rocky Mountains, General Kapoor watched grimly as holographic maps showed defensive positions blinking out one after another. Her face was lined with exhaustion and grief for every sacrifice made. The enemy had technology beyond anything Earth could counter in a fair fight, so Earth would not fight fair. Even as defeat loomed, whispers of a bold plan flickered through the bunker's war room. Kapoor and her team had anticipated this dire hour. Every retreat, every sacrificial stand had not been in vain. They were calculated pieces of a grander strategy, buying time and positioning the enemy just where humanity wanted them. The invaders did not know it, but the stage for their downfall was secretly being set. At the height of the battle, as the Empire's supreme flagship descended to witness humanity's expected final capitulation, General Kapoor unleashed her desperate plan. Through secure channels long prepared, old hardwired lines and frequency-hopping radios immune to the Empire's jamming, she gave the coded signal, rainfall. High above, a web of dormant satellites and forgotten orbital debris suddenly sprang to life. Earth's engineers had covertly repurposed hundreds of defunct satellites, hiding warheads and tungsten rods among the junk. Now, at Kapoor's signal, those concealed weapons fired their thrusters and hurtled toward the enormous flagship looming over the capital. At the same time, from the oceans, a salvo of missiles erupted upward and detonated in a blinding flash above the atmosphere. The electromagnetic pulse washed over the invaders' technology. In an instant, the enemy's vaunted energy shields collapsed and their communications went dark. For a heartbeat, war paused as the flagship hung naked and unprotected. Then, white-hot streaks of metal and fire slammed down. Tungsten rods and missiles struck with devastating force, piercing the flagship's mighty hull. One eruption after another tore through its decks. The pride of the Imperial fleet began to collapse inward, wreathed in flame. The plan was not without sacrifice. Moments before the bombardment, a squad of volunteer pilots in a retrofitted shuttle slipped into the flagship's hangar, using the EMP chaos as cover. They gave their lives to detonate a fusion warhead inside the belly of the beast. The internal explosion combined with the orbital strikes, and in one shattering roar, the flagship broke apart. On every battlefield, the invaders faltered in disbelief. The sight of their flagship, a symbol of the Empire's absolute power, breaking apart in the skies, sent a shock through the alien ranks. What was supposed to be a scene of human surrender had become a trap, sprung by the very prey they had underestimated. The impossible had happened. The primitives had struck a mortal blow. As the burning remnants of the alien flagship crashed to Earth, the momentum of battle shifted in a heartbeat. Without the flagship's unifying command, the invaders' formations grew chaotic. Human forces, scattered and ragged though they were, felt a surge of fierce hope. Commanders on the ground seized the moment, rallying their troops for a counterattack and crying out to push forward. In the skies, pilots who had been outgunned now found alien craft disoriented. They seized the moment. Human fighters swarmed the enemy gunships, picking them off one by one or chasing them out of the atmosphere. On the ground, resistance fighters emerged from the smoke to find alien walkers inert, their control systems fried. Street by street, humans rallied and drove the stunned invaders back. Leaderless and stunned, alien units broke ranks. Many fled to their dropships. Others simply surrendered, unable to fathom how the tide had turned. By nightfall, the once overwhelming invasion force was shattered, in retreat or in captivity. At last, Earth had survived the unthinkable. The cost had been immense. Cities in ruins, countless lives lost. But against all odds, humanity had won. News of Earth's impossible victory spread across the stars. On enslaved worlds long crushed under the Empire's heel, countless beings lifted their heads in hope. If outmatched Earth could topple the Empire's pride, perhaps they too could rebel. Revolts flared on distant planets. Stunned and overstretched, the once invincible Empire began to fracture. Within months, it collapsed into chaos, unable to withstand the wildfire of resistance humanity had ignited. Humanity, once solitary prey in a cruel cosmos, was now hailed as a symbol of defiance. Earth's darkest hour became the galaxy's new dawn, a spark that ignited freedom across worlds. Amid the smoldering ruins and dawn's quiet light, humanity took stock of what they had endured. The victory, though glorious, was born from sacrifice. Millions had perished in the siege, and many heroes did not live to see the triumph they earned. Their sacrifice bought our survival. War, humanity learned anew, is a cruel and costly crucible. Yet they also discovered that advanced weapons and sheer force matter less than unity, courage, and cunning. In the end, the Empire's defeat was not a tale of superior firepower, but of the human spirit. Victory had come not from Earth's ships or guns, but from its unconquerable will to be free. Empires rise and fall, but the resilience of those who fight for their home is timeless. As survivors gazed at the once terrifying stars, they saw not oppression, but the light of hard-won freedom. Earth's last stand was not an end, but a beginning. As Earth rebuilds and the stars beckon, one question remains. What new chapter will humanity write among the stars, now that the night of tyranny has passed?